Let's do this. Let me do my
Intro.
intro.
Brother.
How's it going, Shamoon? You all right?
I am good, man. I am so good. Thank you for having me on, bro. It's been so nice to get to know you a little bit, but in that short amount of time, like I just can't wait to geek out with you more and sort of get to know you more. And yeah, I'm just so glad we have similar interests.
No,
That was super
no,
cool finding
awesome.
out you love Cobra Kai. And I remember just seeing your account on Instagram. I'm like, your art was so fantastic, it's inspired me to want to take up art again because I used to do it a lot in school, as we
Mm.
were saying. And yeah, I mean, I was like, this dude's just awesome.
Dude, thank you so much for that compliment. But listen, you guys don't know who we have on here with Cobra Kai Nation up in the place, bro, which is amazing because, again, when I think it was Spider-Man Across the Universe.
Yeah,
Sorry,
across
Across the
Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse. Sorry, Universe. I'm going to get trouble with the Marvel guys. Listen, uh, yeah, no, and then we started following each other. I saw that you were massive, Cobra Kai fan. I mean, for us growing up, for me personally, the Karate Kid movies play a crucial part in our
Right.
pop culture history, and being martial artists ourselves as well gives it that extra. We know what this guy is going through, uh, which is relatable. And as much as everybody, because I do get my backlash because I have so many favorites in my pop culture, but it's just what I grew up with and what we had
Hmm.
in front of us at the time. But I've seen your body of work, man. It's inspiring to see another brother, South Asian out there doing the bits because sometimes it does get lonely out there thinking, oh man, am I the only brown person doing this? Where do we get more people like us doing stuff like this to inspire others as well in the process? And most of the listeners that we have, even though our listeners are actually, it's funny, most of our listeners are from South Africa, so
Oh
I'm trying
wow.
to tap into like the South Asian community and be like, come on guys, there's two brothers here, two Muslim brothers doing this, come listen to the podcast. But South Africa, Mexico, Canada, Spain, Portugal, that's our like demographics of the listeners that we have on the streaming platforms, which is absolutely amazing. And I love you guys all. Your support is, makes me get to do, and my brother to do things that we could only dream of sometimes. Like, I mean, the experience for you to do the interviews you've done with the cast, to be at premieres and like red carpets. What made you get into that field? What was it that kind of clicked and said, I want to be there. I want to be the guy. Like,
I appreciate all those compliments, first of all, brother. That was that means a lot. And like you said, it's nice to see others like us doing this. That's important. Like I think it's cool just seeing different cultures sort of
mm,
embrace something we all like. Cobra Kai. There's so many different cultures, so many different. There's a huge demographic there, different
mm-hmm,
generations celebrating the show, and it's so cool because I've actually seen so many Asians like us, like watch Cobra Kai here. I've connected with people through TikTok, through Instagram, and it's just so cool seeing that. Um, but what made me want to do all the things I do now? So that's a good question because I mean, growing up, I'd always loved pop culture.
mm,
I was a big sports fan, but when I started to take YouTube really seriously, and when I wanted to start YouTube and being a content creator, for like pop culture, I started in 2019. My first channel was called Shamoon Reacts. That was a reaction based channel. I tried to cover everything I like, basically, like
okay.
sports, TV, film, gaming, all that kind of stuff. And uh, the inspiration for that was when I was younger. I always loved the idea of YouTube, and it sort of went from once I'd left school, I'd realized. I mean, I thought I wanted to pursue sports, so I went to pursue sports. Little did I know, right before the end of school, I like media as much as I like sport. And I was trying to find a way of combining both. Um, but I wasn't really sure. So, I took a gap year and I thought, while I work, what can I like how can I work on this? You know, sort of set myself up when I go to uni, because I wasn't sure if I would want to go to, you know, do further studies for media or sports. It was a difficult one because my aspirations were football and basketball, but then media and like film and TV and journalism, I always liked it. I always loved being creative. Uh, and like it was actually pretty crazy. I had severe pneumonia in 2019,
Okay.
and that was a big eye opener for me, kid. Like that changed
Wow.
my perspective on life. Like it almost felt like a near death experience. Like I'll be real about that because
Hmm.
I'd never had such an experience, a personal experience in my life that I felt I was close to that. And my family knew what I'd gone through for that, and that made me open my head up to what's the thing you really want to pursue? What do you love? Why am I holding back? Like I had confidence issues growing up, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that is something that woke me up, and I was like, you know what, this feels like a new beginning. I feel like I've been born again. So I want to I want to pursue this. This is what I love doing, pop culture. That first channel started. I loved Cobra Kai. I became a fan of that during 2018, 2019. And little did I know I was going to start a channel on a show like Cobra Kai. I mean, it really rekindled my love for the Karate Kid.
Mm-hmm.
That is just how things really blew up into how it is today, you know. Um, and like Cobra Kai has done so much for me. You know, I love the creators of the show, the actors. You know, we'll talk about Blue Beetle in a bit, of course,
Mm-hmm.
because that's a byproduct really from you know the success of Sholo with Cobra Kai, and I feel it's just crazy how it's connected me to all sorts of people. I found myself in what I'm doing now, right? And yeah, it's just been crazy. The last 2 years or 3 years, especially since COVID hit, like that was the time where I literally was fully on YouTube and really pushing that. And Cobra Kai, that was literally a focus for me because I thought I was a bit unsure what to do in my first channel. I love pop culture, comic books, all that kind of stuff, but like, you know, I didn't know what to cover one specific thing. And I thought
Mm-hmm.
just for experience, maybe Cobra Kai would be a great start. Um, but I think it's always been a passion of mine, Gib. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
always been to be involved in this sort of way. I've always expressed myself, like, you know, talking, discussing, sharing the passion. That's how I've expressed myself. But like I did not think Cobra Kai was gonna have such an impact on me, you know, to be where I
Yes.
am to be now.
Yeah.
Um, it's crazy. I mean, there's different ways of seeing the passion as well. Like, you know, comic cons. Like you've been to many, I know.
Yeah.
That's an aspect I never thought I'd be so obsessed with as I was doing YouTube. And it's it's been a joy. It really has been a joy. And to like, you know, the other night when we saw Blue Beetle, I mean, all that stuff, I've always thought the moment I started my channel, like, why can I reconnect with the whole of pop culture, you know? And I think in this last year, I sort of have gone back to what I did originally with that first channel, but
Mm-hmm.
branched out. So it's just film and TV I covered, not just Cobra Kai. But
Yeah.
obviously everybody is like, yeah, you're Cobra Kai Nation, you're that guy. But um, it's crazy. Yeah, I mean, it's only the beginning for me. I feel, and I'm just so grateful about everything, kid, man. I really am. Like,
That's amazing.
I count my blessings, and I just really appreciate all the support everybody's been giving me. And I hope I'm inspiring people, like you said, other people of our culture. You know, doesn't matter who you are, what you are. Like, you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. You know.
Exactly that. That's the message, dude. That is that's like we've been on a similar journey. You know, I started on YouTube 12, 15 years ago. I used to do art videos. I went into reactions. I did pop culture stuff, and originally it was me by myself before the brothers joined in after. And I love talking about our journey because came to a point, we were getting really good views and the channel was growing, and then finally coming to a point where I was like, oh, I don't know, like what are we doing, and are we connecting to the right people? And then my brother moved to Hong Kong.
Oh
We're
wow.
quite close knit family, and it was a hard thing to hear, like, but I was 100% behind him to say, listen, man, go explore the world. You're young, you know, go do it, man. And he moved to Hong Kong, and I remember the first 3 months, I got a flight out there just to see how he was doing,
Yeah.
and then we were in each other's faces when we were at home. So then suddenly there's a connection lost in the house, and we ended up losing contact slowly. It was being from weekly to monthly to, we're not hearing from him for like 2 months, and then suddenly it was like, you know what, we need to make more of an effort. uh
Mm.
we're a close-knit family. We're going to try the best to keep in contact. My brother had the idea. He was like, you know what, I listen to Joe Rogan's podcast, and all he does is talk shit on there. Why don't we just talk shit? Why don't we? He goes, got great guests and they talk shit on there, but then it's amazing stuff, you know what I mean? Because
Mm.
he has great conversations in the process. So, and you learn things. So he was like, why don't we just jump on and just talk about the stuff we love? And
Mm.
then, we went on Skype and we put it up on the original channel, which was the Kibla Ahmed Art one. And then, only 2 years ago, we decided, was like, you know what, let's move away from that channel because it looks a bit mixed up and it's a bit jumbled up with all sorts of stuff. And
Right.
then we started our own YouTube channel, and then we jumped on the streaming platforms. And then social media as well. We were really late. Like, I had my art page, it's always going to be there, but then we didn't have one for the podcast. And I was like, you know what? Let's start it up and give it a go. And then, yeah, that's it. That's the Brothers Geek Out podcast was born, and we talk weekly. We talk everything, pop culture, but we talk about life. We talk about you know our culture. We talk about our religion. We talk about all sorts of stuff, man. With so much, we go through so much, but we love what we do now, like so much more now, having that channel and connecting with people since we started the Geek Out sessions, and we've been doing Geek Out sessions since we started the channel 2 years. I think it's coming up to 3 years or 2 years ago. And
A
we
similar
have a
time
guest.
as I started my channel CKN, so that's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
So we kind of like, we just wanted to connect with the everyday people that love pop culture, really. And
Right.
it's amazing. We've had some amazing guests on and amazing talent. And that's one thing that you bring along in what you do as well, is that creativity that you bring to what you do. You still got the core thing that you love, which would be that pop culture. I've got that. Back to the Future. That's my go-to. Like,
Mm.
that's the thing that makes my universe go round. My family too as well. Before I get in trouble. Uh, uh, but
Yeah.
that's the thing that kind of like inspired me to learn about, the medium, the format. We grew up in strict Islamic households where, where some things, when it came to creativity, they didn't understand it, and it was very hard. I mean, I'm showing my age here. I'm 41 now. Like, for me, it's only now I feel like I'm a kid, because I'm actually getting to do things that I dreamed of. Like, who walks a red
Right.
carpet?
Am I
Like, who
right?
gets invited? Stuff like that. Like, going to a screening before, a couple of weeks before the movie comes out. Like, me and my brother were saying exactly this, was that you guys we're at a point now where it was like, they do want our opinions on the fans, not just the critics. Like, and I don't class myself as a film critic or anything, because I'm biased. I love everything because I'm grateful. I'm grateful I get the content. We're in an
Mm.
era now where we push out content ourselves, but the content that we get back in return, I'm fully 100% supportive. Yes, maybe some things don't fall right, but I'm not one to shit on other people's work, and I've always been like that. And I'm not. I know what it's like to be a creative, to put all that hard work into it, and then for somebody to shit on you. It's a hard graft, but it's the business. But
Right.
I would rather be a positive light, and the same thing with my brother. I know he'd say the same thing in this industry, to praise people and their work, and
Right.
constructive feedback. Constructive feedback is done. I mean, you could do a review really horribly, and I've seen it done plenty of times where people rip the hell out of somebody else's work.
Oh God, yeah.
I don't want to be that guy, because I know what it's like for us to edit a video for like 3 hours, put it up on there, and get a couple of views and a couple of negative comments, and you're like, that's some of my best editing work, man.
Yeah.
So like we know the pain that we go through, but I mean we see it with a different light. I mean I see things as a constructive feedback, but you know, bring the light, man. We want to bring the goodness. We get great content. We've got great people bringing that content to us. So nah, it's amazing. It's amazing to see your journey, dude. Because like as I said, you know, for me personally, when we started going to screenings and you know getting invited, I was like, oh man, nice to see a couple of other brothers up in this place, man. Because it was, you know, it was a different type of industry back then. Where now I know with time things have got more diverse, things are different. We've got different type of content that's coming out as well, and it's just amazing to see as well. Like, so you rekindled your love with Cobra Kai for Karate Kid. Like,
Yeah.
that's amazing because you must have watched that movie and thought, you know, good movie, really liked it. You do martial arts as well, right?
I don't do martial arts as much as I used to, but
Okay.
the odd time I will try. You know, if I
Okay.
get time, I will.
Okay.
But like, hey, I'd be seeing you doing those kicks at the Blue Beetle screening the other day, and I know you were arriving a little bit after me, but I was like, I had to see that for myself because that was Jean-Claude Van Damme, literally. Like, I was
Oh,
like,
bro,
still
like
got it, still
that
got it.
guy, Jean-Claude Van Damme, that was my inspiration when we got into kickboxing. My dad's a martial artist, so he was in kickboxing for a good few years before he done his backing, but he passed it on to us, the brothers and the sister, as we were growing up to take on for discipline and self-defense, but in the process
So
of keeping
important.
fit as well. But you know, like my middle brother, Gilman, I think you met, who did you meet last week? So you met my youngest brother, Ash. Uh, but my middle brother who lives in Dubai now, the one that was in Hong Kong, is he's a martial artist. He has been
Oh,
studying
awesome.
since the age that dad taught him, and he's moved into different forms of, you know, kung fu, Shaolin, kickboxing, Thai boxing, which now he's gone into jiu-jitsu, which he absolutely loves and adores. But he's the guy, like, you know. But I was like, you know what? I put a post up from like 7 years ago at a Comic Con when I did a kick, and I was like, man, do I still have that? And you know what?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. When I got to Blue Beetle, I was running around that day. It was so busy. I got there and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna miss the picture opportunity. And you know, that's like my memory to say, you know, just for me, man. It's a memory book for my kids to see later on to say, you could do whatever you want to do. Yeah, you'll be able to do it. Just be inspired by you got to push yourself in the process. But I thought, let me try this kick. It's been a while. I was hurting after, bro. My knees were like, oh man, it was a bit quick. You snap back a bit quick. But I love Jean-Claude Van Damme was our inspiration, man. Like I remember seeing kickboxer and Bloodsport, and when I saw those kicks, I was like, Dad, I want to learn how to kick like that. And you know,
Amazing, isn't it?
he
Yeah.
put us into it. And then you know, you got people like Scott Adkins that I really
Oh,
admire in the
beast.
work that he does. He's amazing, bro.
Absolute beast.
Absolutely amazing. But as I was saying, you rekindled your love for Karate Kid with Cobra Kai. What was it about that? Was it the first or second season, or was it like, you know, what was it that got you hooked on that and become the fan? No, I wouldn't even. Yeah, the fan that you are for it now.
Yeah, so growing up like the Karate Kid, I mean, I wasn't born in the 80s, but
Mm-hmm.
that had a huge impact on me growing up. And I'm
Mm.
not even talking about the 2010 film. It was literally the original 80s film.
Good, good, good.
And there's so many. Okay, I'll tell you something crazy though. There's a few people with Cobra Kai that actually grew up with the 2010 film,
Oh
and
wow.
hadn't even watched the original films. I think even some of the main cast, I think
Oh
Mary, Sholo, and I think some of them didn't actually watch the films growing up, or they never watched it
wow.
until they got the roles. Then they did their homework, and they were like, "We're working with Ralph Macchio and William Blatty and all these guys." So that was quite funny to hear that. And yeah, so like it's very on the nose when I say this, but it is coincidental, and it is maybe how the universe works because I believe in law of attraction.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my granddad was a big inspiration for me when I first started karate.
Okay.
So me and my brother, we both grew up doing Shotokan karate.
Okay.
The same style that Sean Kanan did, I think, to prepare
Yeah.
for Karate Kid 3. And my granddad was a big push. He was like, you need to be strong, learn self-defense, discipline. Like he was very much like Mr. Miyagi.
Oh,
And it is very much like the Daniel Miyagi like dynamic I felt like I had with my granddad.
mm-hmm.
I had the utmost respect for him, and
That's amazing.
he he passed away a year after Pat Morita had died.
Oh wow.
So it was I only knew him for about several years of my childhood, but I'll tell you what, I would never take that for granted, kid. He was such an important man in my life, and Cobra Kai, like seeing with Cobra Kai, it really it really inspired me once I watched that first season. I mean, I watched when it was on YouTube Red. I think they had the first episode for free, so I
That's
was
right.
like,
Yeah.
why? I saw the trailer. I saw William Zabka who played Johnny Lawrence. I was like, wait, that's the bully that played Daniel. I mean, that's the bully from the Cry Kid that picked on Daniel, and I was like, oh, so are they gonna twist it and show it from his perspective? Okay, that's actually quite interesting. And
Very.
he has a prodigy called Miguel Diaz, Latino. He's a minority. It's fresh. And, just seeing how they went about that dynamic. And just when I watched the pilot episode, I was like, this is on YouTube Red? Like, this is really good. Like, I liked it, but because I didn't actually have YouTube Red. I didn't end up like watching the whole season in one. I think I'd already used my trial, so I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna pay for it. So then, not long after, I think they were giving the whole first 1 or 2 seasons for free, or I got another trial or something. And then I just binged all of season 1. I think this was right before Endgame was coming out. Obviously, season 2 was out. I think it was like the same day
Yeah. That's right.
release. So I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
wow, that's a pretty ambitious one. But yeah, season 1, I was so hooked on it. The whole underdog story with Miguel, that dynamic with Johnny, the fact that they show you how much life is about the gray, it's not just black and white.
Exactly.
The amazing honor they had for Mr. Miyagi, the OGs. They nuanced Johnny Lawrence. They showed you other perspectives to Daniel and made you understand Johnny really isn't a bad guy. Like he was misunderstood. And yes,
That's right. Yeah.
He was written as a bully in that film, but it's just John Hurwitz, Hayden Schlossberg, and Josh Hill. These guys who created Cobra Kai and came together with this fantastic idea have smashed it out the park with the series. Like I was so hooked after season 1, but season 2 is where I think I became a mega fan. And I was very close to making my first channel about Cobra Kai. I was very much like, you know what? This actually I was talking to my brother when we were watching the episodes. I'm like, there's so many theories and thoughts I had about the show. It was almost like I was watching Marvel. Because before Cobra Kai, like Marvel, DC growing up were huge. I've always been a bit more Marvel. Spider-Man, Hulk, Wolverine, those 3 in particular, I think. As a kid, you saw them, you just got so excited. And then obviously the MCU came. But yeah, the way they went about the story with Cobra Kai, it couldn't be any better. It's just amazing how they've honored that story without ruining it, because you see
Oh yeah,
loads
of
of
course.
reboots and remakes, they're trash or they don't honor the OGs. And it's so important you honor the fans that were of the original franchise, bringing in new audiences, but also cultivating that in the process of making something fresh without it being overblown or relying too much on nostalgia.
It connects generations.
Exactly.
The way I see it, it connects generations. Like, I mean, for my dad to sit down and watch it, like if I tell him there's a movie with Arnold or Stallone out in the cinema or a TV program, he's like, oh yeah, we can sit down, we can watch this. My dad introduced us to pop culture, so it connects generations. And I felt like that's what Cobra Kai did with bringing the story into it. I mean, me and my wife, we absolutely adore it. We're like, the tributes that they played to Mr. Miyagi. I mean,
I loved it.
Karate Kid 2, and it's not a movie that a lot of people rate, but that scene in the beginning when he lost his dad, man, me and my brother, I remember the first time me and my brother kind of cried in front of each other. My youngest brother, Ashley, you met the other day. I don't know what it was. I can't remember what it was. I think it was like a rerun or something on TV, and they played that scene. And I swear, and I looked at my brother, and he was like, "You crying?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, man." And I was like, I can't believe how did that scene get me, but it's a beautiful thing, man, and I feel like I'm glad they honored, Pat in the series because he plays a big part. All of my friends say he looks like my dad, so we have that connection there. So they call my dad Mr. Miyagi because he goes "Hoi" when he used to call us. I was like, allow it, bro. Don't say that about my dad. And then as we've grown older, I say to my best mate Dwayne, I'd be like, bro, you know what? You're right, because now I can see it.
Yeah.
I see my dad as Mr. Miyagi now, and he taught us a lot. It was very hard and difficult times as we were growing up as teenagers because you sometimes have that disconnect away from your parents, and that's the part of growing up, I suppose. But the one thing that he did do was keep us united in the family. He grew up in a very hard, struggling family where the brothers and people couldn't get along. And you already know all the Asian dramas that we have in our families. So like it was hard. It's nice. Like when he sees us now and, all married kids and the rest of it. And he was like, I did something right and they're united, So him and his brothers, they can't even see each other in the face. But he kept us. And then we'll always have our difference between the brothers, you know, but we always have an understanding to come back and like unite again. And I think that's what family does. But it's a process. It is a process. But yes, all right, man. Let's jump on to the other day. What did you think of Blue Beetle, bro, and what Sholo's done?
So just seeing Sholo's work in Cobra Kai, that was definitely the moment I realized we've got a great actor here. Like a really good actor. I mean, there's so many other great young prodigies now, Peyton List, Tanner Buchanan, Jacob Bertrand, Mary's pretty great. And obviously, you can't forget Ralph, Billy, and all the other guys that have been around for a long time. But Sholo, him alone, I knew he was going to like put everything into this. Like Cobra Kai was definitely preparation for Blue Beetle. And I was so blown away by him in that movie. And, the film itself was so grounded. I loved how, I've been seeing people say, yeah, there's a basis to it. It feels basic. But the point is, it has so much soul and flavor to it. The family aspects.
Yeah.
The action is freaking awesome, man.
So good. Really good. That physical suit, bro.
The suit looked amazing. The
good.
visual effects for it as well were good. They weren't over the top. I know visual effects have been a bit iffy with Marvel DC.
No, but this was good.
But this was good. Clean.
This was really good.
Soundtrack was great. There was a few nods to Cobra Kai as well, which I'm sure you noticed. And I was like, like you might have heard me in the right side. Like I was going.
I heard loads of people. It's amazing to hear that cinema reaction, and it's one thing that I think Marvel has kicked off because it's made it feel like we're in a sports ground. I remember when Cap, when he did what he did. I remember my screening. I was one of the guys that stood up and screamed, and then the woman next to me was start laughing and I was like apologizing. But I was like, I've seen and read this in the comic book, 100 times. They put it on the big screen. Like I was in tears. I was like, oh my God, why am I tearing up for, man? And he was like, my brother was like, it's because, you appreciate that you finally got it on the big screen. You've been reading the books. You've loved these characters for most of your life, and then suddenly you see them on the big screen, and it changes everything. And it does. And even with Blue Beetle, here's a character that I don't know much about. Right. So when I saw it the first time around, dude, the scenes with his dad hit me.
I was going to talk about that.
Yeah, they I know I looked at my
Amazing.
brother again on the last, without any spoilers. There's a scene, and I looked at him and he was like, "Fuck you, Kibbs," and I was like, "I know." I was like, "Sorry," because I know how we know what it's like with families, and how important that sorry, before I pronounce Angel's name wrong. I've done it twice now. His connection to family is really important. He really wanted that message to come across, that you know it was more about how the family put him together, and I think Sholo plays an amazing role in what he did, representing Pame like that, because he's it's amazing, bro. The practical suit worked really well. His martial arts kicked in as well, which I loved. Uh, the soundtrack was awesome.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Like, for me, as I said, I'm not a film critic. We don't do reviews. We just talk about movies, and it's what I enjoyed. If it can make me laugh, smile, cry, share, I enjoyed it. It's a good movie, and I'm glad it's getting the love it should get. There's always going to be nitty bit, like little bits
Yeah.
that people are going to say, but I'm not trying to feed it down everybody's mouth. As much as everybody sees it on my timeline, I just love stuff like that. You know what I mean? That's
I
me.
I like your approach because I think there's a problem with pop culture nowadays where everything is overblown to getting to end game level standards or something. It's like
Mm-hmm.
not every film is gonna have that hype. Like people have to
Mm-mm.
understand that. And I
Of
feel
course
like
not.
it's been great that they've set a standard, but I think fans need to sort of reel it back down and realize like the superhero genre has had such a big 10 years that now it's sort of going into new territory where they're going to play on with new characters, and people like Blue Beetle are finally going to get a film,
Mm.
and though the youngsters are coming up, so many new young heroes in Marvel and DC are
Mm-hmm.
coming out, and I just hope they obviously are as enjoyable as the OG Avengers, and you
And
know
they will be. I think the
mm,
concept there, where, like, and I'm going to be honest with you, I did not like the MCU when it first came out.
it had its problems. Yeah,
Yeah, so Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, like, because I was such a big comic book nerd, I grew up with these books that I fully adore, and I love the original stories. I forgot about how you're going to adapt that type of story on the big screen. And on our recent podcast, guys, if you check on the previous one, me and Gilman talk about some of the context that are in those comic books they could never put up on the big screen. So it was only until Avengers, the first one, came out, I realized what Marvel were doing, and I was like, oh my god. I rewatched them again and found this new love for all of these characters again, and so, like, finally understood there are different interpretations in comic book of these characters. This is its own version, but in the movie world. Yeah, so Batman has different artists, different writers, different stories. He looks different in them.
yeah,
So interpreting it on the big screen is going to be different as well. So I think what they did with Phase 4 has been experimental, and have introduced new characters, and they're beloved characters as well. I mean, the fact that they brought Moon Knight into there, they brought
oh, I
the
love Moon Knight.
emotional, mental health issues that people go through, and the
That was
superhero
a
stuff in this as well.
focus. That's such a big focus that we
It's
need as
amazing,
well. And
amazing.
I'm so like people like Moon Knight, Blue Beetle, these kind of characters, they haven't had their due diligence for the live action. Like they
Mm-hmm.
haven't been given that respect, and finally they have. And these characters are also played by phenomenal actors who really
Exactly,
understand the roles. Like
exactly.
like Sholo and Oscar Isaac. Those guys
Mm-hmm.
absolutely kill it. And obviously Oscar plays Spider-Man 2099, which he's definitely my favorite Spider-Man, by the way. Badass mofo.
Amazing,
Like he's so
very,
cool.
very. But yeah, no,
Um
like, adapting big stories into a movie, it's very hard to kind of go from different formats, and some movies do it very well, and some programs, it would be very hard. But I mean, here's one that probably got a lot of backlash, which really kind of hurt me, but I absolutely adored it, was Miss Marvel. I feel like it brought a lot of culture to the table. A lot of people understood a lot of things. But then
Yeah.
me, I did have my criticism regarding how the superpowers are put in there, and with the Islamic background, I was like,
Yeah.
ah. But then they flipped it, and I was like, okay, they didn't go with it. So I'm kind of glad they changed it. Like, it was explained a bit more. But when they left us on that cliffhanger, I was like, hey man, you questioning my religion here, man. What's going on? But I love what they did. The dad in that is just me. I'm like that with my daughters. So it connected with me on a whole different level. So, we got phase 4 diversity and new characters. So I still love it. It has its faults, but I'm not one to, as I said, I see the positive out of it because we get so much content now, and it isn't. I could say it's oversaturated, but I don't want it to stop because it's the stuff I love. So I'll take my time out and I will watch it, and then I don't have to tell people what my negative thoughts about it, but I see the positives. Secret Invasion, people didn't like it. I loved it. Okay, maybe not the last episode, but the build up to it was maybe really good,
Yeah, it
and
was.
there could be some. And well, we know what's going on in Hollywood at the moment now, and everybody on
Strikes.
strike, and with everything happening, you kind of see where quality drops, and that's what's
Right.
happened because studios are pushing for more of this stuff. Where before we were in an era where it'd take us 10 years to get another movie, and you've got somebody like James Cameron who could take 14 years to bring out a sequel, and make billions. And I feel like we need to. I was saying it the other day. They need to dial back a little bit and bring a
Yeah.
bit of quality. But then I
Quality
don't
over
want them.
quantity.
Yeah, but I don't want them to because I'm like, yeah, I got something to watch. I know what's coming out and where I'm going next. So it's interesting. It's interesting where
I
they're
think
going.
it's a balance. Like Miss Marvel, like I personally, I liked, I mean, Iman Vellani. First of all, she's awesome. She's a real nerd. She really, really cares about playing her role and just generally really understands Marvel. So you couldn't have picked anyone better for that
No.
role of Kamala Khan. Um, it's cool that it's a Pakistani hero. For me, I think it's for more like a younger audience.
Mm-hmm.
So there were things that didn't fully connect with, but I'll tell you what, they got the Asian Pakistani humor on point, especially
Yeah,
that
they did.
scene with the aunties. Do you remember they called them the Illuminantes or
They-
something? I was I was bursting out laughing when I saw
so
that
we
because
started
that
to
was so
incorporate that.
accurate. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
so accurate.
the humor had me laughing because it really when you have been raised with a culture and you see that level of humor or that specific humor, it will make you laugh more than the normal because it's so you're so aware of it and it's so understanding. And Punjabi humor, it doesn't matter what day or year or mood I'm in, it'll always crack me up. And it's just I think it's that connection to my childhood, growing up in that way. And that's the part of Miss Marvel I appreciate. And then stuff like Secret Invasion, I was expecting a little bit more. I did like the idea of it. I think it's just the execution was certain. There were certain issues with that.
It was
But
because it started off really strong. Like you got Ben Middleston, not Middleston.
Mendelssohn, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So he and
he was amazing.
the relationships that him and Nick Fury had, Talos and him, was amazing, and they should have built on that more often because
Focus on
that
that,
scene
yeah.
on that the conversation they had on the train when they talked about the scrolls are already here when there's already a 1 million, and Sam was like, human beings can't get along with each other, let alone another species on this planet. Like
Right.
it's hard hitting stuff which they could have moved on forward with, and we were getting there, and then I don't know what happened, but listen, dude, I still love it. I still enjoyed it, but just that last episode threw me
Yeah.
off. 30
But
minutes of madness.
it was. I think that's the other thing as well. Some of these like MCU 6 episode series have had the shortest finales, and I think for me, I'm very glad they're scrapping the 6 episode structure
They
because
have
I
to.
think
They have to. They have to.
something like Daredevil having 18 episodes. Wow, I was
Because you want the characters to breathe, right?
right, and they're gonna build that universe, the street level stuff, massive with Matt
They have
Murdock.
to. They have to.
I'm
They
just
have to,
excited.
man. They have to.
But I think like yeah, with overall like the MCU and DC, I'm so glad there's shows like Cobra Kai out there or The
Hmm.
Boys. You know, they've got big universes in its own way, and maybe not on that same scale as Marvel DC, but the storytelling aspect is so much quality there. And you know, when you watch something, you want it to have so much, but it's just there's so like Cobra Kai, there's so many things I can relate to. Like you were saying about in Blue Beetle earlier on with the scenes with Jaime and his father. The scenes with Miguel and his father got me.
Mm,
I didn't have a father growing up. Like my upbringing was, I mean, it was mainly my mom and nan and my granddad
mm,
were huge in my life. And to see that scene in Blue Beetle, that got me. It also reminded me of my granddad.
mm.
Nana also in the movie reminded me of my nan.
Amazing.
She had
Yeah.
that humor. She was phenomenal. I think that actress's name is Adriana.
Yeah, Andrea. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah, she stole the show a lot. And obviously
she was
George
amazing.
Lopez's Rudy was had me rolling at every minute. He was so funny.
He had a touching moment though that connected with me as well. My first comic was given to me by my dad's youngest brother, my uncle. He gave me a Superman comic book. It was 1991. I was 11 years old, ready to go to secondary school. That's how I
Wow.
got into comics. Yeah, he's an amazing artist as well. So I plug him. Nemesis art. He doesn't really use it as much, but I know he's at that age now where he feels like Kibbs. I don't need social media in my life. But he inspired me to be an artist. I'm proud to say I'm an artist because of him. So it's amazing that what family can do and how they can bring things in. So I know that love that you have for them, man, and them scenes must have hit hard, man.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's one thing I loved about Blue Beetle is there's so many things you can relate to, and the, the family aspect was huge, and I love the focus that Hamei's journey as a hero was really filtered with his family.
Mm.
And they were such a big part of that. Like, they were there right as he had the scarab. They were there when he came to their aid. He's no matter like when he's fighting as well, he's there for his family. And I love that. I just love that story that it is quite different to what we've seen before. Like
Mm.
there's aspects to it that you wouldn't have seen. Like, I don't think I've seen something like in the way they went about Blue Beetle with his family.
Yeah,
Like,
they
I
haven't.
don't. Have you seen any other superheroes that sort of had that connection
No,
with their
I
family
mean,
being so involved in their hero's journey? Like, not as
no, I
not
mean
like
in the
every single member being so like integral to that. Like his sister, his mother, his
mm,
father, his nan, Rudy. I think is his uncle.
yeah, it's
Um,
uncle. Yeah, yeah.
they all
Uh,
play such a big role in his life.
that's amazing because it's what some families are like and how many people get. Our I think in other cultures, families are always involved in everything. I think in comic books, there's not many heroes where the families are involved and the family knows what that power that person has. You know,
Mm,
Blue Beetle is one of those cultural families. I mean, it's been passed on twice for two different other characters. It's Ted Cord and another character in the comic books before it got to Harmony. So,
yeah.
but there's not because secret identities back then was a big thing. Nobody needs to know that I'm this superhero or
Mm,
creature of the night like Batman. I'll keep everything secret and live a different life. Where now we've come into a point now, in the mid 90s and late 20s, where it was like, you know what, let's ground these superheroes a little bit more that their best
mm,
friends know, their families know, so that they go through these hardships together and they're not by themselves. Because
right.
the one thing about superheroes that I grew up with when reading comics was that you got this one person that burdens everything, and I think we see that
Yeah.
in our cultural kind of father figures that they burden everything on their shoulders, and those guys are superheroes. And I can imagine that, but the mental health aspect of these characters carrying that much of the world on their back
Right.
is in a book when you read it, and if you connect to it, that's a lot of pressure, man. Like, I don't know how you're dealing with
Sure.
that, and you're still smiling, and you're in a happy relationship, and you're living a double life. It's very difficult. That's when reality kicks in, and you're like, okay, there's a reason why I read comic books is it gets me away from my reality, but my reality is me trying to burden all of that madness. It's hard enough to try and look after two kids, have a healthy relationship with my wife. Then I got my family to help out as well. And the rest of it is, do the 9 to 5, do what we're doing now. I say, the guys that like us, like that do this are superheroes because we multitask. We do so much. That day I was coming back from Birmingham, I'm doing a workshop with all these amazing artists and students that I'm looking to help inspire to get in the world of art, and then run down to get back to London. And I felt like Jack Bauer in 24 and trying to get everything fitted in because I want the listeners and the people that watch the podcast to know that you can fit in everything. And yes, it will be hard, but
Yeah.
make sure you have your days off, after, but you can do things and put the time and love in stuff that you want to do and have some reality time as well. But I feel like comic book characters back then really burdened a lot, and now it's nice to see stories where a best friend knows, or family know, or the mom, somebody knows what's going on and what that person is going through with the responsibilities of having powers like this.
Right.
So
And responsibility is like such a big lesson you learn in all these on all the media I've like really got engrossed in, like Cobra Kai or Blue Beetle, or generally the superhero genre. That's something I've always admired about these heroes, is that they take so much responsibility and accountability for everything they're doing, and they do it with, like you said, a smile on their face. They're still going. They're still putting in the same amount of effort and energy as every day that comes to them. They literally are so inspiring, and I think that's an aspect that I've always admired in any sort of media. Someone that can do so much, but it doesn't. It might come across as a burden, but they're still are able to stand on their feet, and they're still there for their family, or there for their loved ones, or still trying to balance their life with their alter ego, like Peter Parker. I know that's a big one, and Batman, for example. I mean, that's such an incredible story, and that that level of suffering you see, like when all these heroes go through a suffering. Like look at Jaime Reyes, like losing his father. It's when he realizes this whole scarab that's bestowed upon him. It's actually there's a greater purpose for him, and
yeah.
that's. I feel like with loads of that's a very human aspect I like. There's loads of humans out there. There is a greater purpose, and
Yeah, it is. It is. We get stuck in how society and how the world is and everything around us, but we don't realize that there is a purpose out there, and there is a message to send across, that you are able to do things. And I'm a clear example. Look, man, suffer dyslexia. I didn't finish school, I didn't finish university, but I still get to do things I love. Sometimes it's hard to express myself because I can't find the right words. ADHD, all of these things that I've been labeled with as I was growing up. It has not stopped me, but that's because of the mentality and the people behind me that have supported it. My wife, my kids inspire me to motivate myself to get out of bed. And what am I doing today? Something different.
yeah,
And what am I going to chase for next? You know what I mean? My family and friends. You have good people around you that want to see you. You know what it is? It was a quote I heard. If when people see you and their eyes light up, they're important to you. And if you could do
I
that to
agree.
other people in the process, and even if I've got one person who listens to the podcast and they're inspired by it, that's my job done, man. I'm happy. That's my payment. You know what I mean? There's
Mm.
nothing else better than getting a message to say, you know what? I was on hard drugs before, and listen to your podcast, and the love for pop culture that you have has got me back into it, and I'm in rehab, and I'm learning to get myself out of things now. That's what inspired us more to continue this podcast. I've had days where I said, like, bro, we're barely getting 50 views, man, because I'm looking at the outside world and trying to get validation. And he was like, no, Gibbs, no, you're doing it for the wrong reason. and then a message like that comes through, it has solidified what we do now, regardless of what the numbers are. And I know it's a big focus for a lot of the work that we do, and yes, it does help. But I think I've come to an understanding where I can actually delete the apps off my phone and have a 2-week, 3-week break and come back to it. And if people do care and do follow the journey, they'll hang around. And, I went through a 6-week break where my brother took over. We had the baby. He looked after the uploading and putting the shows on, getting guests on. And he saw how much hard work it was. And he was like, Kibbs, I can't believe you were doing that with the family. And he was like, okay, I'm going to take responsibility on some of the stuff. But that was only because I only liked managing things. That was my controllingness.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I can't give that to you. It's too much work. So we'll split the responsibilities, but let's continue this because we both get to talk in the process. And it's true. If we didn't talk on a weekly basis, we'd lose contact with my brother. So this is what the podcast was for. But dude, I don't want to keep you here too long because I know you got work to do. But I did want to ask you another Cobra Kai question.
Yeah, I'm all here for it.
I don't know if you've already done a theory video on this already, but in the next season, do you think we'll see Hilary Swank?
I really hope we do. Julie Pierce. Okay, as much stick as that next Karate Kid film has, I mean, I've spoken to Michael Cavalieri, who played Ned Randall, the Alpha Elite guy, and he even said he'd love to, if he could come back, he would love that. And Julie Pierce is the one character from that added more to Mr. Miyagi's
Of course.
right?
Yeah.
So it only makes sense for her to be involved, and not just for the sake of just that, but she's a good enough character. She could help Sam and Tori get through their shit that they've got through. She's also the balance between that. She had that aggression of Tori, but she is a Miyagi. Tori and Sam could learn a lot from her, and I think for the female characters, she's huge. But I also think just generally, like we've just been introduced to the first Cobra Kai female sensei, Sensei Kim Dae-eun, right? Who links back to the Way of the Fist and all that. Who would be a matchup for her, Julie Pierce?
Exactly. Oh my god.
If they connect, I know it can be. This universe has such a great way of connecting the past to the present, and even like nuancing Cobra Kai with, Kim Sung Young and what he taught Silver and Kreese and all those things, and about the world tournament. I love that, and that's a theory I did have, by the way. There was a video I made, but I never uploaded it. Anyway,
I tweeted it and I was like, I'm hoping I tagged her in it, but I was like, after season 4, I was like, please tell me they bring her back. Like I want Julie back. I just want it to connect the whole thing together because I think what Cobra Kai has done personally for me is not because, like, yes, the nostalgia of it, but you brought back Ali, you Mike Barnes. I was like, oh come on, man, you're killing me right now. Like every time, and me and my wife, me and my brothers would be like, oh man, this is just pure amazing. We say it's cheesy, but I love it to bits. I love it to bits.
Oh,
Absolutely love it to bits.
That's another reason why I love it. He knows what it is as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Characters like Amanda remind you of everything. Like she is literally the audience.
Yeah, exactly.
Like these guys are fighting their karate war, and I just love the way she's so logical about everything. And same with Carmen. But Julie, honestly, like she'd bring so much to this, and I think even just a cameo would be great. I think that would be the minimum I'd expect to see next season. And with how big next season's going to be, I really hope they bring her because she'd bring the icing on the cake to the franchise for Cobra Kai, I think, with, the whole Miyagi stuff because they've really honored him well in this show. And I think seeing Daniel and Julie on screen together would be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I think even if she's not fighting Kim Dae-eun or
no, she don't need to fight. I think
even if she just has a moment again, like just even like having a little a little like chat or a line, and she's sort of intimidating her, and she's like, I could kick your ass, you don't need to worry about that. It could be anything like that. I just would love to see Judy back. I think Hilary Swank was asked about it, I think earlier this year.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think I saw that clip. Yeah.
I think she said no one contacted her, but how do we know that?
Come
Because
on, because
Thomas
I
Ian Griffith, he was contacted, I think, a year or two before he
mm,
actually came back as Terry Silver. And he was in retirement. He's a writer, but he
yeah.
stopped acting in 2007, I believe his last role was. So for
That
him
was
to,
was that vampires?
I think it was, yeah.
Oh my god, James Wood vampires. That's another John
I think it
Carpenter
is.
movie that I absolutely love. All right,
Yeah.
yeah, no, amazing. That's man, that's amazing that he's come out of retirement. I'm glad he did, man. He's the
So glad,
key. He's the
right?
key in number
And just
three,
seeing him
man.
in Chosen, what they've done
Yes,
with those characters, and seeing that fight.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm so looking forward to it. I mean, you've had the great uh opportunity to speak to some of the cast as well. I mean, what's that like for a fan to like just to geek out and just to I mean, did you like I'd mess up my words like I did when like I've done a few, but I'd mess up my word. I always mess up my words anyway. But what was it like for you? What was that feeling, man? What was that? That's what yeah, tell me.
Okay, that definitely I was geeking out hard. Like when I talk to any of the cast members, I'm always geeking out. I'm trying to maintain, what I'm saying, not to go off track or ramble, but I think so. My first ever interview was with Jaden Rivers. He was one of the Miyagi Do and Cobra
Mm,
Kai like background characters, and I did an Instagram live with him. And then my second ever person I spoke to was Joe Seo, who played or Seo. He played Kylo.
mm.
As crazy as this sounds, I actually didn't really feel nervous talking to anybody. I
Really?
just, I just felt, they were so grounded and humble that I just felt like I was talking to like you or a friend.
Oh,
And
that's
none of them
amazing.
had this like high and mighty kind of ego. None of them are like that. The whole cast is amazing, and that's what I appreciate even more about the show is they got this. They literally are a family, and
Mm.
everybody on set has told me just how great they're treated there, and they always have so much fun, and there's this camaraderie they have, which I love, and every time I speak to somebody, it's like it's such a pleasure,
That's
and
amazing.
it's just so fun. I feel like I'm just talking to a friend every time I speak to somebody.
That's
You know,
amazing.
it's fun. I always love discussing, and I think interviewing, that's something I've always wanted to do growing up. I've
Hmm.
always been a conversationalist, and I pay attention to the little details, and it's just really I'm very fortunate to be able to do that, and um that's something that I'll never forget, those experiences with speaking to them and then being able to meet some of them as well. Uh,
That's
that
amazing.
came full circle when I've spoken to them or some
Yeah,
of
yeah.
the cast, and being able to say thank you for everything and just saying hello to them, like it was extraordinary, and I just can't wait to bring on some of the others I haven't yet. It's been a minute since I last did an interview on the channel, to be honest.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, hey, if I could get some of those guys on, that would be a pleasure. Yeah, it's always a pleasure talking to all of them because they've got such interest. Like just being able to speak about their careers and how Cobra Kai came to them and
Hmm.
just their journeys as a whole. Especially, it's cool when some of them are like my age because I'm gonna be around when they've really hit their stride and their prime. I'm
Yeah.
gonna be the same age as them, so it's like I'm gonna grow and see that.
Yeah, that's
Um,
amazing. That's always amazing when because that gives you that level of interaction where, as you said, I can have a conversation, we could be friends. Yeah, so that's and as you said, when you meet them at physically as well, you're like, man, it's gone full circle, which is absolutely amazing.
I'm
That's
still in awe. Like
you'll
the
always be.
fact the fact
That's
that some
amazing.
of them refer to me by Shamoon, not even my like channel name, that means a lot to me because it's like they know they have that much respect, just for somebody who's really a passionate fan of this. Like I just found that extraordinary, and the love that they've given me just generally when I've seen them and when I've been to Comic Cons, like
Mm,
that's done so much for me as a person. It's really inspired me to do more and to do more with the channel and uh to be more part of this community because Cobra Kai has changed my life forever, Kib, and every fan, every person that's been involved in it that I've interacted with, who supported me, who's been such a positive impact on me. Other creators as well. I've made some really great friends because of this show, and I will never take it for granted. I'll always thank the creators for making the show, and everybody that's worked on it because it's literally made me into a better person. And
it's amazing.
honestly, I don't know what I would have done without the show, if I'm honest. Like, yeah, there's Marvel DC, but I think Cobra Kai got me in a way that nothing else ever has. And I think the Karate Kid as a whole, that whole franchise is something that always be a big part of my heart, and
Mm.
Cobra Kai never dies.
No mercy. That's
No
amazing,
mercy.
dude. Like, no, that is absolutely amazing. All right, dude. I've kept you on long enough, and I'm
No, it's
always
been a
grateful.
pleasure, man. No
I'm
worries.
absolutely grateful to have you on here. Nice to
Pleasure.
always meet you physically now. It's not
You too,
always
man.
online, and I'm sure we'll cross paths again. But before I go, and it's just something to inspire some of the listeners and some of the people that watch the channel, uh, in the work that you do, just any key motivations that you could give back to the listeners to say if it's something that you want to try and how you would go about it, and just some wise words from a humble creator.
Okay. I hope this actually is good advice. Um, so what I was saying to Kib earlier on, I learned so many things in my life that gave me full circle moments and realizing that the thing that you're pursuing is very close, or the thing that you love is there. Sometimes the thing that you love is already there, but you might not realize it. And I think in this day and age, there's go through all kinds of things, especially in this post COVID era. It's been hectic, right? All
Mm.
the time. It's mental health at an all time high. And I know people really just trying to get through life. This might sound cheesy, but no matter how many times like you generally feel like giving up, keep going. And if there is something you want to do, why are you not doing it? Like, just ask yourself that question. Look in the mirror and ask yourself, why aren't you doing the thing you love? Is it a matter of motivation? Is it a matter of just starting? Is it just a matter of you've been doubted? Because screw all those things. You just need to push yourself and you can do it. Anyone that's human is capable of doing something they want to achieve. And it doesn't matter what it is. But if we're talking specifically like what me and Kib are doing, and I've had so many honors and I've been so fortunate. And of course, hard work is such a big goal and an important thing to anything in life. Because you also need that little bit of luck sometimes, Not all your hard work isn't just hard work. You do create your own luck within that. And that's an important message I have is no matter how much you're reaching for something, you never know. You might just be that close to achieving it, or it could start something bigger and better for you, or this big purpose that's out there for everybody. Every human in the world, I feel, is serving a big purpose they don't realize, kid. Like,
Mm-hmm.
every human is unique, every person's different, creatively speaking as well. There's so many different aspects to it. If you want to get into anything like content creating or the film and TV industry and all this, start. And I will be your push. I've always supported people. Whenever someone asks me on how to start, I always tell them just start. Don't worry about opinions, what others are saying. Obviously, look for advice, look at inspirations. But at the end of the day, you've got to really think deep down. You're the only one stopping you, no matter what it is out there. So, like they say in Cobra Kai, the mantra: strike first, with your goals, strike hard with your heart, and I don't mean physically, literally. I mean literally with your passion, how you go about it in a healthy way, and definitely show no mercy to your goals. Conquer those goals like you are climbing Mount Everest, or you are shouting on the top of your lungs from the Burj Khalifa. I don't know. Or just think of what you really want in life and go for it. There's giving up is not an option. That's my advice. No matter what life throws at you, keep going.
Look at that. Wise words from my young brother here, man. Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Appreciate
Where can the people find you, dude? I'm gonna put all the links in the description. It'll be across all platforms. But yeah, spell it out, bro.
Appreciate that, man. So if you guys obviously watch Cobra Kai, then you can find me at Cobra Kai Nation. I'm on YouTube, I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and my TikTok is Cinema Kai Nation. We're doing more film and TV stuff on there. Because obviously before the show ends, I'm still deciding how I transition with my YouTube channel, because obviously all Cobra Kai, and I've told my audience, we'll see how we go about it, but the name might change, but I absolutely love my name. Nation, it's like I think of nation as a group, or
Yeah.
an entirety of a community. I feel like that's why nation really sticks out. But yeah,
Well, I'm sure you'll find something to keep it with that, and you're future proofing things. These are things that we think of before we think of changing the way we do things. I mean,
right.
Originally I posted everything on Kibla Ahmed Art, but it's an art channel, and I try and inspire people to do art. I do artwork. I do some of the movie stuff on there, but the podcast has been the avenue to keep it separated, and But listen, dude, again, massive thank you for coming on to the Brothers Geek
My
Out
absolute pleasure,
podcast,
Kib. Honestly,
guys.
this was so much fun, man.
Oh no, awesome, man, and I'm sure we could collaborate again on other projects. So I'm happy to jump on, and I'm sure we'll cross paths at the next screening. But again, gratitude. I just want to say a massive thank you to a couple of shout outs before I finish the podcast. Y2K Illustrations, Yusuf. Listen, bro, massive thank you for the love. You sent us a very nice message the other day. I'm not going to read it out to embarrass you, dude, but I'm just going to say you keep doing what you're doing. Keep up the amazing work. I want to thank all the listeners that joined in on our recent Twitter giveaway. I will be picking a winner. Oh my God, it's Friday. I'm picking a winner today. I'm picking up. So you'll probably see the winner on Twitter. Sorry, X. Later on. I'm going to do it. This episode is going to come out probably next week, Monday. So yeah, guys, the winner's already on there somewhere. So I'm trying to predict myself. But
oh man.
But yeah, make sure you're following us on all of our socials. Like, share, comment. We love all of that. Whatever love that you can give our way, or opinions. If you guys got any questions on what we can talk about on the next episode, what you'd like to find out from other creators as well, like what is it, what is their drive, and things like that. Message back, let us know. I'm always here to respond. And again, on mental health, me and Gilman are big on mental health. We're advocates when it comes to men's mental health as well. So if there is something you are going through and you want to talk to somebody, drop a message on the Brothers Geek Out Instagram page. If it's not me, my brother will reply. Somebody will always come back to you and not just give you random stuff and advice. We just listen. So just let us know what's going on. Always grateful for the love that you guys show for the channel. Click on that subscribe, like button, and share some love, guys, and have a wonderful week ahead of you. Shamoon, thank you so much again, bro, for coming on, man.
My pleasure, man. I can't wait for the next one. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in as well.